What up, everybody? Just want to do a quick little build, man, talking about why I actually decided to let go of weed. I'm just leaving the gym, so if y'all see sweat on my face, that's why I'm literally just walking out of the gym. But why I actually stopped smoking weed. I started smoking weed consistently, dang, on a day-to-day basis when I was 18 years old after a serious breakup. It was a girl that I was like extremely serious with. I honestly thought that we would get married, and then we went from talking every single day to never speaking at all. What up, Shayla? I ain't talk to you in a minute. And then they was just in a dark spot. And then I was also going through my fraternity, well, before I actually made it in the first time, and my sternum got broke. So I got off a line because of that. So I was really just down on myself. I mean, literally that happened in like a week period of time. It was me getting offline, and then me and Heavy P actually breaking up. That's a nickname. She's not heavy by any means, but that was just a nickname because she always liked to eat. And that put me in a very, very dark spot. And so I just started smoking every single day to cope with it, because I just didn't know how to sit with my own emotions. I didn't know how to process my own emotions. And before you know it, I looked up and like 10 years had went by, and I had smoked damn near every single day. And never in my life did I ever imagine that I would even be smoking that long. And every time that I would actually envision the greatest version of myself, we all do this. We see ourselves, doing whatever we want to do in life. We see ourselves in the future. We use our imagination to just see ourselves doing certain things. And that image of myself that I always would envision, it would never be associated with weed. It would never be weed in that picture ever. But yet and still, in my day-to-day life, I constantly found myself smoking. And then every time I would stop smoking, or I would try to stop smoking, my mind, it's almost like when I would try to fast. It's like I would set out to fast, but then by the end of the day, I didn't talk myself into eating. Like, oh, it's okay, man. If you just want to eat right now, it ain't that bad. You done already went 2 hours without eating, or you done already went 12 hours without eating. So you can just not eat. It's all right. You don't. And that's the same thing that I would do with weed. Every time I would try to stop smoking, I would always talk myself into why it was okay for me to smoke. But in actuality, and the reason why I'm sweating again, I just left the gym and everything, so that's why. But that's my struggle with weed, is that I would always talk myself into why it was okay for me to just smoke again. And then before you know it, I'm right back into the habit. And so then I just had to realize that I was really dependent on it. I was extremely dependent on it. I couldn't necessarily sleep without it. If I did go a day without it, it wasn't like I was at peace without it. It was my mind was constantly fixated on trying to wrestle and resist the idea of smoking. And I'm constantly trying to wrestle with my own thoughts of why I don't need to smoke. Why can I just let that go? I can just not smoke. And then before you know it, I would end up smoking. And so years go by. And like I said, I started smoking when I was 18. And then before you know it, I'm 28 when I realized that it's like, damn, I didn't damn near smoked every single day. So then I was 28 and I finally got the courage to just take a break. And so I had went 11 weeks without smoking at that period of time. But the first 5 days was just it was crazy. I mean, realistically, I was experiencing withdrawals. It was insomnia. I couldn't sleep at all. And then I would get random like impulses in my legs, where it's like when I was about to drift off to sleep, it's like my leg would just like jolt or something like that. And those things was constantly keeping me up. Then when I did fall asleep, I would wake up and like just completely, my clothes would just be drenched from just sweating and all that. So I was just, good morning. I'm doing pretty amazing, Marie. I'm just kind of talking about my journey of why I actually decided to let go of weed. But, I'm just building up to it. I started smoking heavy at 18. Then at 28, I started to take an 11-week break for the first time. But again, like the first 5 days of that 11-week break was just unbearable. I couldn't sleep. My attitude was off. I was extremely irritable. I was preoccupied all day. I couldn't really focus. I couldn't stay present. And that's when I realized that I really, for lack of a better term, I was addicted. I was... And I didn't really want to settle in on that, because really my mom's 2 siblings were drug addicts. And so she would always, especially when I first started smoking, she would always look at me like I would be like her brother, and that would always irritate me and agitate me. And I'm like, how the fuck is weed like crack? You got me fucked up. Like, just because a nigga smoke weed, I ain't about to smoke crack. Like, and I will always feel some type of way. But the reality of it is that when I stopped smoking, I had fucking withdrawal symptoms, and I was really dependent on it. I couldn't go a day without it and be at peace. Like I said, I was preoccupied. I'm irritable. I couldn't sleep. My attitude was completely off. I was an asshole for like the first 5 days anytime I stopped smoking. And so, again, I'm sweating because I just left the gym, so bear with me. I just got off the sauna for 30 minutes straight. Let me just crack this one up. And so I had to just be real with myself that you're addicted to this. You're dependent on it. So I had went that 11 weeks. And the reason why I was dependent on it, like I was saying at the start of this, I started smoking when I was 18 years old after a serious breakup. So I was never comfortable in my own skin. I was never comfortable with the negative emotions that would sit up. I was never comfortable with addressing my fear of abandonment. I had the fear of abandonment because my father really wasn't in my life like that. My mom had to work a lot of times, so she was always preoccupied. So I was always trying to do things to get her attention. So I was seeking outside validation from other people. I never wanted to address these particular things. That's why when my girlfriend had broke up with me at 18 years old and I started smoking all the time, because I didn't feel my self-worth. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel like I was important. I didn't feel like I mattered. So therefore, it just caused me to just want to smoke just so I didn't have to think about anything. And another thing is I've always been a high energy person. If y'all been following me definitely the last 2 weeks since I really let go of weed, y'all can sense my energy is high up. And so I remember in college one time we was all kicking it, and this girl, even at when we would have smoke sessions at friends' houses, I would bring a book or I would bring just something to keep me mentally stimulated. And I remember this girl saying, "Do you ever turn your fucking brain off?" And so I would want to just fit in. I would want to conform. I would want to, belong to the group or be accepted in the group. So I would do things to kind of just slow myself down. And so that was another crutch for weed. I couldn't be comfortable in my own skin. I didn't know how to regulate my own nervous system. I didn't know how to calm myself down. So anytime I'm super stressed, I felt like I needed to smoke. Anytime I was super angry or something, I needed to smoke to be able to calm myself down. And during that, when I was 28 years old, and I finally was like, all right, man, I've been smoking 10 years and I never saw myself smoking this long. The time just fucking passed without me even realizing it. And then every time I would envision the greatest version of myself, I never saw weed in that picture. Ever. Never. But I was still constantly smoking. So I knew if I ever wanted to manifest the vision that I was seeing in my mind, at some point in time, the gap was, I got to let go of this weed. I got to stop smoking. And so at 28 years old, I was like, all right, let me just take a break. And again, that's when I really realized that I had an issue, because I experienced serious withdrawals. I could not sleep. I could not focus. I could not be present. I was irritable as hell for like a week straight. I would go to sleep and I would just wake up and I would just be completely drenched. Like my clothes would be drenched. Even this time when I stopped smoking and all that, the first couple of days I would wake up and sometimes 2 or 3 times throughout the night I had to change my shirt because my shit was just sweating like crazy. And so 28 years old, I finally let it go. The first week I get through it. I remember me and my homie Brandon, we was like, man, I motivated him to want to stop smoking as well. And we went and got all this melatonin. We getting all this stuff to try to help us sleep. And none of that shit worked. And I don't know if any of y'all ever experienced like being like 5 days with only like a total of 5 hours of sleep in the whole 5 days. It's aggravating. You start to just feel like you're not yourself and feel like you're not in a proper frame of mind. So I went 11 weeks, and during that 11 weeks, I cried more in that 11-week period when I was 28 years old than I had my whole 18 to 28 years. Because when I was 18, I started smoking. 28 is when I took a break. I didn't cry throughout them 10 years. But again, it's because anytime I felt anything negative, I'm smoking. Now I'm distracted. Now I'm not necessarily thinking about it. Now I'm suppressing this particular emotion. Now I'm regressing from it. And when I was 28 and I took that break, now I don't got any stimulant to make me avoid it. So therefore, I had to deal with all this shit that was coming up. And so I would just cry all the time. Now, really, it didn't last the whole 11 weeks. The crying really probably lasted like the first month. But after that, it's like, I was like, damn, what am I really running from? Because it's like, the feelings, yes, it comes, but it's like an ocean bank. That's what I always tell people, like emotions. An ocean bank takes in the water and then it lets it go. It don't hold on to nothing. So if you just allow the emotion to come in, the emotion will leave. But the issue is we don't know how to just let the emotion come in. We don't know how to just sit with an emotion for a period of time. Whether it wants to stay a second, a minute, an hour, a day, a week, or a year, eventually the emotion will actually subside. But I was fearing it. I struggled. I'm struggling to stop smoking. Listen to what I'm telling you, because I'm telling you, you're not the only one. I was a smoker. I was a smoker. I was listening to a live yesterday, and this is what's really motivating me to share my story when it comes to weed, because he was sharing his story with weed, and he's older than me, and he's saying he's struggling with it. And I'm like, bro, I just quit 2 weeks ago, so I'm on the other side of all the... Bro, that's fireworks is crazy. I'm on the other side of it now, but I know what it was like not being able to sleep. I know what it's like being irritable as hell. I know what it's like not being able to focus and all that stuff like that. I know what it's like being completely dependent on it. So you're not alone, man, with the struggle. But what I can tell you is the treasure that you want is in the cave that you fear to enter, man. And if you just... What helped me out, though... Well, let me just finish with the story. So then after the 11 weeks... I started smoking again, and that habit came back like that. And then next thing you know, more years it went by, and literally now I'm 34 years old. Now I haven't smoked in... Counting the days is the quickest way to relapse. That's why I try my hardest not to count the days. It's just I'm living a life of sobriety. That's how I phrase it now, because literally counting the days is the quickest way to relapse. They did a study on people who smoke for 30 years and never relapse versus people who smoke for 30 years and then when they tried to quit, they kept relapsing afterwards. And the only difference between the people that kept relapsing and the people that never relapsed was a shift in identity. So the people that kept relapsing, when they asked, yo, you want to smoke? They would be like, oh, I'm not smoking right now. I'm not smoking right now, which means you still identify as a smoker, as opposed to the people who smoke for 30 years and then they never relapse. When they ask, yo, you want to smoke? They was like, yo, I'm not a smoker. So it's that shift in your identity. What up, Victorious? That's that shift in identity that really makes the difference. So I started smoking again, just like that. My homie was like, yo, you want to smoke? I'm like, yeah, I could probably smoke just one time. Foolish error. I smoked one time after my 11-week break when I was 28 years old, and that habit came back just like that. And now I'm 34 years old, and literally I had the thought the other day, it's like, damn, nigga, you ain't took a break really since you was 28 years old. 6 years again then went by just like that, and I didn't even realize that I was still smoking all the time. And so what motivated me to finally let it go now, and I'm living a life of sobriety, is because I really realized I had to take a hard look at myself, that I'm training my son to be a fucking addict. Because like I said, I couldn't go a day without it. And if I did go a day without it, I was fucking preoccupied all day thinking about how can I fucking get it. I was irritable all day, and I would even be irritable with my son because I got a blunt rolled up and my son want to play, and I'm like, damn, I want to smoke. So I'm getting a little irritable and agitated and all that because I want to go out and smoke, but my son want my attention, and I can't smoke in front of him and all that, but he is still around me and witnessing all that. He's constantly smelling it because I smell like it all the time, every time he sees me. And so I had the thought, it's like, man, you're really train the child up in the way that they should go, and when they get older, they won't depart. You're really training your child to really be an addict because he's seeing you constantly be dependent on it. You want to raise him to actually have a regulated nervous system, but you're not able to regulate your nervous system on your own. You're relying on these external circumstances or these external stimuli, whether you're using weed or whether you're using constant sex or whether you're using food so you can eat all this stuff and the blood goes to your stomach and now you're constantly relaxed. All these things, or you're always on social media distracting yourself. We got to be able to train our kids to regulate their nervous system. So that was a huge thing for me. I'm like, I want to be an amazing example for my son, but I got to discipline myself. And if I am not living it, I cannot tell him not to do it. And he's going to want to be like me. So next thing you know, I'm just projecting out into the future. My son's only 22 months old right now, but I'm projecting out into the future when he's out with his friends or something, or at school or at a friend's house, and somebody offers him some weed. He'll be interested in wanting to do it because he's always smelt it. He's always seen me with it. He's always seen me around it. So these things is actually what motivated me to do it. But again, I was afraid to let it go because I remembered the first week of actually not smoking and how difficult it was. Not being able to sleep, always being irritable, always being preoccupied, having them weird impulses in my body and all that. When I'm trying to go to sleep, it's like a little jolt would go through my legs, and it would just be extremely uncomfortable. So I was afraid of actually going through that particular process of letting go of the weed. And so what really helped me out this particular time is, like I said, I was motivated by wanting to be a better man for my son, but then also staying in the gym, and not just going to the gym, just going and doing basic workout. Every day I go to the gym, I'm doing something that makes me extremely uncomfortable. Whether it's running a certain amount of distance. And again, the number always got to be something where I don't want to do it, where it's something where I'm damn near dreading doing. And then if you push yourself to do it, because, all right, I'm going to run 5 miles. If I really didn't want to run 5 miles, but I commit to doing it and I'm going through it, you're still going to be a whole bunch of uncomfortable feelings to get to that 5 miles. And you train yourself to be able to push through uncomfortable feelings. If I'm cycling for 2 hours, I got to train myself to get through all the times that I want to fucking quit in my head. If I'm on a Stairmaster for 30 minutes on level 15, or today I'm swimming 30 laps in the pool. When I first started going to the gym just a couple of weeks ago when I stopped smoking, I was only doing 12 laps in the pool. Now I'm up to 30 because I'm constantly trying to push myself. But the more I push myself and I see that I can endure uncomfortable feelings and make it to my goal, it makes it easier. It made it easier for me to let go of the weed. It made it easier for me to be comfortable with dealing with those negative feelings because I know that they're going to pass. Because it's the exact same thing of when I'm experiencing negative feelings, when I'm running all those miles and I want to stop and I don't stop because I'm like, I got to make it to my goal. It's the same thing when I'm letting go of the weed. Even though I might have uncomfortable feelings. The first 5 days, I could not sleep. It was very uncomfortable. I was saying the first 5 days, I would wake up and I got to change my clothes 2 or 3 times throughout the night because I'm just sweating like crazy throughout the night. Now, the reason I'm sweating now, I'm right outside the gym. I was just in the sauna for 30 minutes and all that. But when I first stopped smoking, I would sweat multiple times. And I'm talking about I would sweat through a t-shirt, a hoodie, and a robe. Like all of them would be drenched. And I'm like, yo, and then I got to change my clothes and then I'll wake up again. Same thing. But the more I push myself in the gym to do things that make me uncomfortable, and I prove to myself, yo, you can do that. Yo, you can do that. Yo, you can do that. You can do anything you set in your mind to, you can do. Anything you set in your mind to, you can do. And the more I keep building evidence in my mind that that is possible, the easier it is for me to actually let go of it. So that's the reason why I just wanted to give a quick little testimony as far as like why I actually stopped smoking weed. And then also, man, you got to be wary of the chemicals that they're actually putting into it. They're putting fentanyl into it. They're putting heroin in it. You can actually buy test strips now and put a little bit of your weed in there, drop a little bit of hot water, and then put the test strip in there, and it will show what chemicals is actually in it. And you will be surprised. I was just watching the live. I was telling y'all earlier, I was watching the dude. He did it on the live, and it actually showed that the weed that he had that he was actually smoking before he stopped had fentanyl in it. Because these drug dealers are trying to get you addicted to it because it makes it more money for them. So you will keep coming back. So weed isn't even really safe anymore. I remember when I first started smoking weed when I was in college, weed used to be like the giggle drug. We would just smoke weed just to laugh and have fun and giggle. And now weed ain't, you know what I'm saying? Weed don't do that. Weed don't make you laugh and giggle and all this other stuff like that. Weed just kind of make you just chill and not give a damn. And then you're just super complacent. And that's one thing that I had to learn. I was just too complacent. After me and my son's mom separated October of last year, that took me to a extreme low, man. I organized my whole life around family and made sure that they were good. I remember she wasn't working the first 9 months of CJ's life when we were together and everything. And I was always on the road trying to provide and take care of everything. And I was always sending my money back home. I slept in my car more days than I slept in the actual bed the first year of CJ's life. And anybody who knows, I never complained about that because in my mind, I'm like, I'm being a man. I'm taking care of my family. They're in a luxurious apartment in Fishers. They're in the suburbs. They got nice stuff and all that because I'm sending all my money back home. But I'm just in a car. And I would only take contracts on the road 12 hours a day. So then I would just go to the gym, sleep at the gym in the parking lot and all that, wake up early in the morning, go to the gym, shower and everything, work out, shower, and then go to my shift. And I would do the same thing every single day when I was on the road, sending sending all my money home. So when she decided she didn't want to be with the family anymore and she just wanted to separate and leave, that crumbled my whole world. And then I left, and even though I provided everything in the home, I left with nothing. And I had to start completely over. And I was smoking weed every day, and it was just making me complacent. And that didn't make me want to build again. It made me not want to start over again. I was just so comfortable not having nothing. I was just so comfortable in the bottom, because again, the weed makes you not want to address reality. Weed makes you not want to address where you're actually at, your current circumstances, what you're really dealing with. And I just had to let that shit go, man, because again, I'm training a child in the way that they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart. I didn't want to train my son in the way of just being complacent, of just not trying to actually be your best. I can't look my son in the eye and be like, yo, you can do anything you want to do. And while he's watching me not doing the best that I can be, yo, try your best. And he's watching me just be complacent, because I'm hurt and I haven't actually addressed this particular pain. I've done an amazing job of addressing all my pain from the past. Like I said, when I was 28, I addressed all that. But the new trauma that came, which was the separation of the family, I hadn't allowed myself to process that. I hadn't allowed myself to address those particular pains and those particular emotions. I was just smoking every single day because I didn't want to think about it. And then I just looked up and I'm like, dude, you're in the exact same position that you were a year. I didn't even realize a whole year had passed since me and my son's mom had separated, because I was just smoking weed every day. And as long as I had the weed, I was cool. I didn't matter that I'm not really rebuilding. It didn't matter that I'm not trying to replace everything for myself that I left when I left the house from my son's mom. Because again, she had everything in the bedroom, everything in the office space, everything in the kitchen, and everything in her home. Just imagine leaving with everything that you supplied in the home, but you're leaving with nothing and letting her keep everything, because that's what a man's supposed to do, as everybody told me. Even my mom said it, like, yeah, unfortunately, son, that's just what men do. You just got to leave and let her have everything. And a whole year had went by and I really didn't replace anything, man. I was living with damn near just like the bare minimum. And I got my office space and I was grinding out of my office and everything. But as far as my home life was just, I literally had nothing. And I was just complacent with that. And so I had to let that go, because I'm trying to be the best version of myself and I got to rebuild. And you can't be a little bitch and just afraid to face reality, afraid to address your real life circumstances. The circumstances are what they are. But if you just throw in the towel and just put your hands up and just be like, oh, it is what it is, then it's never going to get better. But it's been many times throughout my life I had to rebuild. But the weed it took away any motivation that I actually had to rebuild. The interesting thing about pain is that pain, if we allow it to be strong enough, but we don't let it destroy us, it could become a powerful change agent. But as soon as we start smoking weed, then we lose the motivation that the pain can provide. Pain can cause us to shift, especially the older that we actually get. Once we reach the age of 30, typically, pain is really the only thing that can cause us to change. You about to lose your family and all that, you'll shift some shit. They say it's hard to teach old dogs do tricks. That's true. But if it's pain involved, and if the pain is strong enough, you'll shift certain things. But if we're constantly using stimulus to actually numb the pain or zap the pain from us, we'll never change. We'll never be able to become what we actually need to become. We'll never make the necessary adjustments and the shifts to do what we got to do. So again, certain people, it's not weed that show struggle. My struggle was weed. Other people, it may be food. You just eat like crazy to make yourself feel better. Other people, it may be sex. You're just constantly having sex because as soon as you bust a nut, now you just sedated and you cool and you can go to sleep. Other people, it's constantly just entertainment, social media, movies, TV shows, whatever it is to distract yourself from the actual pain that you're running from. But the cave that you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. Pain is inevitable, facts, but suffering is a choice. And most of the time we get in suffering because we just avoid the pain. But if we allow ourselves to just feel the pain, it doesn't last long. Again, pain may last for a minute, an hour, a day, a week, but eventually it will subside and a new emotion will come in and take its place. but we got to be strong enough to deal with it. That's why I encourage you all to get into the gym and push yourself. It can't just be I'm going to the gym and I'm just doing stuff and I don't feel like. So we got two voices in our minds. We got a voice that's always trying to push us to comfort, and then we got a voice that's trying to push us to greatness. If we keep listening to that voice that wants to make us comfortable, we're going to be stagnant in life. And really, stagnant is an illusion. A law of life is everything is either growing or disintegrating. Nothing is still. Stagnation is really an illusion. So we look like stagnation, but really we're deteriorating. So we got to always listen to that voice that's pushing us to greatness. So when you're going to the gym and it's telling you, yo, do this, and you like, yo, I don't know if I want to do that. That's what you actually need to do, and push yourself to do it. And once you push yourself to do it, you start feeling better about yourself. And the more you can genuinely start feeling good about yourself, the less you actually need external stimuli, the less you need external validation, the less you're trying to be liked or accepted by other people because you genuinely like and accept yourself. But if you're always listening to that voice that want to push you into comfort, you're never going to have the courage, the confidence, the strength to change, to do the actual changes that you needed to do. That's one reason why our confidence be so low. Our confidence be low because only we know all the promises that we break to ourselves. We know all the times where we say, yo, I'm going to stop smoking, and then we try to stop smoking and we quit, and then we relapse. We say, yo, I'm a not eat sweets. And then again, because we only made the promise to ourselves. So we know all the times we lied to ourselves. That's the reason why we don't got confidence. So if you're struggling to stop smoking, it's probably because only you know all the times you said you was not going to do it and you failed. And so therefore, you don't even believe yourself that you can actually do it because you've lied to yourself so much. That's why you don't want to listen to the voice that's going to push you into comfort. Because the interesting thing is that the time is going to pass regardless. You might experience negative feelings when it comes to letting go of the weed for maybe 2 weeks. But the 2 weeks is going to pass regardless. And so at the end of the 2 weeks, do you want to be triumphant and do you want to feel good about yourself? Or do you want to just be like, damn, man, I said I was going to not smoke and then I ended up smoking, man. And then we start feeling bad about ourselves, which is going to make us want to actually smoke again, which is going to make us want to sedate ourselves again, which is going to make us want to distract ourselves. So we got to actually let go of these particular ideas of wanting to push ourselves into comfort and just listen to that voice that pushes you into greatness. Today, when I set out to go to the gym, I only had 24 laps on my to-do list. And then once I finished it was 28 laps. 24 laps was last week. It was 28 laps. Once I got to 28 laps, literally the voice in my head that pushes me to greatness said, go to 30. And I'm like, damn, I only said 28 today. It said go to 30. And I just did 2 more laps. And I went to 30. And it made me feel good about myself. I remember it was just last week sometime. I only set out to do 90 minutes on a cycle in my cycling class. Or not a class. I didn't even set out to do a class. I ended up doing a class because 50 minutes into my cycling session, a class started. So I was just like, all right, I guess I'm doing a class. But remember, before the hour-long cycling class started, I was already on the bike for 50 minutes getting at it. And so after the cycling class ended, everybody is getting off the bike and all that stuff like that. I got a whole second win because even the instructor knew I was on my bike for 50 minutes before that class started. And the way they looking at me like, he's still going? I got a second jolt of energy. And I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm about to go to 2 hours in. Because that voice kicked in and was like, just don't get off the bike. Keep going. So my whole point is, don't listen to the voice in your head that's telling you to ease into comfort, because that is the voice that's going to make you feel low about yourself, which is going to make you want to keep doing the things that you're doing to distract yourself. Whether your vice is weed or not, whatever your vice is, don't listen to the voice in your head that just makes you want to be comfortable. Because if you continue to listen to that voice, that's what's going to drive you more and more to your vice. But as you keep listening to that other voice that's making you stretch yourself, that's making you do things that you like, damn, do I really like swimming is my weakest area. I'm not going to lie. I'm in the gym all the time. I'm going to post my actual training log and all that because I keep track ever since I stopped smoking. Swimming is my weakest area. I'm not going to lie. I dread every day where I got to swim. But you know what? I'm not about to get out that fucking water until my goal is met. I don't care how long it takes me. And I get humbled in that water every day. Let me tell you, because it be old people in there going back to back to back to back to back to back nonstop. I can't go back to back to back nonstop. I gotta stop. I stop frequently when I'm in the pool. But guess what? I'm not about to get out that goddamn water until my goal is met. Because I know that as soon as I do, I'm about to feel bad about myself. And if I feel bad about myself, then I'm susceptible to actually going back to that vice. And so, just summarizing why I actually let go of the weed. It was one, I was always avoiding my feelings. I was completely uncomfortable in sitting in my emotions, regulating my own nervous system, dealing with the stresses of life, dealing with the pressures of life, dealing with breakups, dealing with feeling unwanted, abandonment issues, all of these things that I was afraid to address. So I would constantly smoke because I didn't have to think about it. Then after a while, it became a habit. And then I got basically addicted to it. So once I tried to stop smoking, I realized like, damn, I can't sleep without it. Damn, I'm irritable as hell without it. Like I can't focus. I can't be present because I'm constantly wrestling in my head and trying to resist the idea of, no, man, you can't smoke, or man, what would happen if you do smoke, and all these other. And so what started out as me just using it as an emotional crutch ended up turning into something that I was addicted. And then now, again, I started at 18. I took an 11-week break at 28, started right back, and now I'm 34 years old. That means that's 16 years of my life. 16 years of my life where I've been smoking constantly. And when I say smoking, I was a smoker. So I'm not talking about smoking one blunt a day. Some days I would smoke back to back to back. I was listening to a dude on live yesterday talking about why he had gave up weed. And he said one of his friends was like, dog, if you over here smoking back to back blunts, like if you face a whole blunt and then right after that's over, you feel like you got to smoke a whole nother one, your body is done with weed, my nigga. Your body is ready for crack. And I was just like, damn, that's fucking crazy. He was like, you didn't increase your tolerance way too much. And that's how I was a smoker. So, because it was just addictive. And so now, letting it go, I'm living a life of sobriety. And anybody who is listening, I don't care who I'm speaking to, but I'm speaking definitely to somebody that needs to hear this. You got to make sure you change your language around smoking. Back to the study. They did a study on people who smoked for 30 years and relapse always when they tried to stop versus people who smoked for 30 years and then when they quit, they never went back to smoking. The only difference was a shift in your identity. So with the people who always relapse, they was like, yo, you want to smoke? They was like, oh, I'm not a smoker right now. So based on that language, you can tell that they still associate as being a smoker. Oh, I'm not smoking right now. As opposed to the people who never relapse. Yo, you want to smoke? I'm not a smoker. It's a shift in your identity. So if you are really trying to let go of the weed, one, recognize that the uncomfortable feelings of not smoking is only temporary. It's not going to last forever. But the longer you put it off, the harder it's going to actually be. Be willing to deal with it. That's why I keep talking about pushing yourself in the gym. Because the more you push yourself in the gym, you work through those uncomfortable feelings and you keep pushing through until you get your goal. It'll be easier for you to know that, okay, just like when I'm running 10 miles and my body is going through all these weird sensations and I want to stop, but I keep pushing through and I make it through my goal. You can do this same thing with weed. Okay, for the first 5 days, it's going to be mad uncomfortable, but day 6, I'm going to be good. As far as sleep. Now, you still might have some other symptoms and all that happen after 5 days for sure. Like a couple of nights, just the other night, I still woke up sweating. Now, I can still go to bed now. The first 5 days I couldn't. That shit was brutal, man. That insomnia is serious. But it ends. So don't focus on the pain. I would always tell people when they were going through the pledge process of my fraternity, they'd be like, oh, it's hard. And I'm like, yeah, because you focusing on all the pain. You focusing on how your butt hurt from the paddle. You focusing on how, you know what I'm saying, your body's hurting from the beatings and all these other things like that. Keep your mind focused on the objective. Don't let it focus on the obstacles. Napoleon always said that I see only my objective, so therefore my obstacles must give way. That's how it gotta be. I got a friend that did a 40-day fast, and he would always tell me, 40-day water fast at that, and he always told me, Chris, anytime you're thinking about breaking your fast, is because you took your mind off of the person you will become once you complete the fast. Keep your mind focused on the end goal. Another thing that it talks about in the book You Squared, it always says that in the middle of a jump, the only thing you want to be thinking about is where you want to land. You don't want to be thinking about anything else. So if you're about to quit smoking, or if you're trying to quit smoking, or if you have quit smoking and you're in the midst of those withdrawals and you're struggling, keep your mind focused on the person that you're going to become once you're done. Keep your mind focused on your ultimate version of yourself that you want to become. Don't let your mind focus on the sensations in the body. Don't let your mind focus on being uncomfortable. Don't let your mind dwell there, because the more you dwell there, the more you will be susceptible to actually cave into those feelings. So that's really the biggest thing. And then constantly push yourself in situations where you're keeping promises to yourself. Because the more you keep promises to yourself, the more you'll actually have the confidence to let go of the weed. So I don't know who that was for, but I just wanted to give my testimony as far as why I had to let go of that particular weed and why I'm living a life of sobriety right now. I hope everybody has a blessed day. I just finished an amazing workout at the gym. Like I said, I started out doing 12 laps in the pool, and now I'm up to 30. Beast mode. And I'm gonna keep going, man. An OG at the gym, older guy, was like, yeah, I go back to back 40 times without stopping. I'm like, shit. And again, even when I did 30, I had to stop a lot. So I'm like, I'm gonna get there though. Like, but I keep pushing myself. So therefore, when it actually came time to stop smoking weed, I'm completely comfortable with it because my mind goes to the pool. There's hella times when I'm in that goddamn pool and I want to get out because I'm tired, because my little kidney or my little wind starts to hurt a little bit. My chest starts to hurt. I'm tired. My legs start maybe cramping a little bit. But I'm like, I set a goal, so therefore I'm not getting out of this water until it's met. And the exact same thing. I set a goal of letting go of the weed, so therefore I can endure whatever uncomfortable feelings that come with it. So hopefully this resonates with some people. Y'all have a blessed day. I'm gonna be live tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Martha and Jeff. We're gonna be talking about setting your vision for the end of the year so we could finish out strong. And then Tuesday, me and Jovan, which is a psychotherapist, we're gonna be talking about the importance of healing for Black men. And then Saturday, Carlene, I might have butchered your name. If I did, I'm sorry. We're going to be doing Friday at 7 p.m. We're going to be talking about walking in your purpose on purpose. So hope you all have a blessed day. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Peace.